The Man in the Moon by William Joyce. Of course you know of the guardians of childhood. You've known them since before you can remember, and you'll know them till your memories are like twilight. Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, the Easter Bunny, and the others. But the very first one was the Man in the Moon. Many once upon a times ago, the Man in the Moon began his journey. It was during the Golden Age, a glorious time of hopes and happiness and dreams that could come true. As a baby, the Man in the Moon had everything a child could need. His father showed him the wonders of the heavens through his telescope, while the Moonbot crew whistled a jolly toot-toot to every passing ship. By the light of the giant glowworms, his mother read to him from her primer of planets, as the moon mice hushed one another so they could listen too. And he had a devoted little friend named Nightlight to watch over him. Together they all sailed from one peaceful planet to another in their beautiful ship, the Moon Clipper. At night, the Moon Clipper was designed to turn into a moon, so Nightlight called the baby the Little Man in the Moon, or Mim for short. Nightlight never slept, and every night he sprinkled dream sand over Mim and sang him a lullaby. Nightlight, bright light, sweet dreams I bestow. Sleep tight all night, forever I will glow. And as long as Nightlight watched over him, Mim was safe from nightmares. But darkness came to the Golden Age. It came in the shifting shape of Pitch, the king of nightmares. He had heard of the boy who had never had a nightmare, and this he could not abide. So he vowed to make that boy his own, a prince of nightmares. In search of Mim, Pitch sailed in his nightmare galleon of waves of fear, plundering planets, extinguishing stars, and scuttling every airship that crossed his path. Mim's parents knew of the perfect place to hide. An uncharted little green-blue planet in a distant galaxy. It was called Earth, and it had no moon. The Moon Clipper glided in deepest silence, speeding away from Pitch's darkness. Suddenly, out of the gloom, the nightmare galleon appeared, so close Mim could see Pitch standing on the bow. "Toot toot?" asked the baby. "Where is that oh-so innocent child who has never had a nightmare?" Pitch demanded, glaring straight at Mim. Then he signaled the attack. Mim's parents commanded Nightlight to take the baby to a hidden nursery deep in the darkest tunnels of the ship. "But first you must kneel and take this oath," they said, their voices rang out through the smoldering smoke and flame. "Watch over our child, guide him safely from the ways of harm, keep happy his heart, brave his soul, and rosy his cheeks. Guard with your life his hopes and dreams, for he is all that we have, all that we are, and all that we will ever be." The battle rocked the Moon Clipper as Nightlight rushed Mim to safety. Seeing a tear on the frightened child's cheek, he took it and held it close to his heart. Fiercely he repeated his oath. Then he felt a searing pain. When he opened his hand, the tear had changed into a brilliant diamond, sharp as a dagger. "Remember me in dreams," he whispered to Mim, as he flickered away to face Pitch. The galaxies had never known such a battle. Mim's parents and their crew fought valiantly, but they were overwhelmed at last. Mim's parents were captured, and all seemed lost. Nightlight knew what he must do. Whatever the cost, Mim must not become a prince of nightmares. With the diamond dagger held aloft, Nightlight flew bravely forward. He aimed the weapon at Pitch's heart. There was a blinding flash, then a great explosion. When all was still, Mim crawled up to the surface. "Toot, toot," he whispered. His parents didn't answer. He looked around him. Pitch and his galleon had vanished. The beautiful hull of the moon clipper had been blasted away. It was now just a moon, and would never sail again. "Toot!" he called out once more, and listened. Again no answer came. Finally he looked up at the sky. He saw a group of new stars shimmering above him. He stared at them until he was sure. His mother and father were there. Far away, but still there. But what of the noble little nightlight? The baby glimpsed a shooting star as bright as dream sand as it fell to earth. Slowly the remaining moonbots, moon mice, and giant glowworms surrounded Mim. The only words he ever knew were toot toot, so he said them over and over again. Gently they lifted Mim up and carried him into the tunnels of the moon. The baby looked up at the sky and waved, gazing longingly at his parents' constellation. Now he truly was Mim, the little man in the moon. Mim's new life had many comforts. Every night one of the lunar moths would circle the moon with Mim on its soft woolly back. He'd stay awake long enough to see his parents' constellation. Then he'd sleep and dream of nightlight and their gentle golden age. As time passed, the moon became a planet-sized playground for the boy. There was so little gravity that with one hop he could bounce over the tallest mountain. After a long day of adventuring, dinners were always a treat. Lunar ice cream, comet surprise, space juice nectarine, and each meal was lit by a school of starfish that swam through the evening sky. As young Mim wandered through the moon's tunnels, he discovered the primer his mother used to read to him. In the book was something he had completely forgotten: the little green and blue planet. He ran to his father's telescope. As he peered into it, he remembered the long-ago shooting star that had fallen to Earth, but it was not nightlight he found. "There are children on Earth, children like me," he cried. Years went by, and the man in the moon was no longer a little boy. His new friends on Earth were very far away, but their lost balloons often floated up to the moon. Mim found that if he held them to his ear, he could hear the hopes and the dreams of the children who had lost them. He listened carefully. Soon he had a whole collection of lost balloons. Mim learned that sometimes the children just needed a toy, or a candy, or a prize, or a sweet dream, or a good story to cheer them up. So Mim gazed down upon the earth, scanning mountain tops so remote they were hidden in the clouds. There he found a grand toy maker to make the children's toys, a regal rabbit to make them candy eggs, and a fairy from the kingdom of Punjum, Hailu, to leave prizes under their pillows. He even found a sleepy little fellow on a faraway sandy island who seemed to know all there was to know about dreams. And lastly, Mim brought the children of Earth a lovely lady who would tell them stories. But for all the joy Mim brought to Earth, there was one thing he had not been able to change. The children were still afraid of the dark. Although Pitch and his nightmare men were nowhere to be seen, Mim knew that the children still had nightmares, and after all this time he had never had one himself. Mim thought he would know everything when he grew up, but of course he did not. "This growing up is a tricky business," he said to himself. Every day he listened to the lost balloons and watched the children through his telescope, and wondered how he could help them. "If only I could find them a friend like Nightlight," he thought. And so, deep in thought and remembering his friend, Mim kicked a rock, and then another. revealing a very bright pile of sand. He stopped and stared. It reminded him of the dream sand that Nightlight had sprinkled over him when he was a baby. Mim laughed to himself and went on kicking rocks. He had an idea. Soon the moonbats and moon mice were kicking rocks too. When the moon mice were so tired they could hardly hold up their tails, and the moonbats were so creaky that they could barely move, Mim called upon the toy maker and the rabbit, the fairy and the others from Earth to fly up and lend a hand. And then finally, when everyone was too tired to even complain, the man in the moon smiled and summoned the lunar moths. The bright sand had made the moon 100 times brighter. Now the children of Earth will see the moon's smiling face and know they have Nightlight to guard them forever, said Nim. And for a moment the distant stars of his mother and father sparkled more brightly than ever before. Nim began to sing. It was an old song, a beloved song, and they all joined in. Nightlights, bright light, sweet dreams I bestow. Sleep tight at night, forever I will glow. The man in the moon knew then that he could be a guardian of the children of Earth, just as Nightlight had been to his guardian long ago. But he would need help, and so he gathered everyone together. Now, my friends, he said, kneel and take this oath. It was much like the one Nightlight had taken long ago, and now it would be their own. We will watch over the children of Earth, guide them safely from the ways of harm, keep happy their hearts, brave their souls, and rosy their cheeks. We will guard with our lives their hopes and dreams, for they are all that we have, all that we are, and all that we will ever be. So began the guardians of childhood. And for the children of Earth, the night was never dark again.